morning, everybody. Shalom Avracha. It's good to see everyone again. And to see the views for sure is always good. I wanted to talk today about something I received yesterday. I received an email from excuse me. I received an email about a petition which I signed. And signed without very much thought. Well, I put some thought into it before I signed it, but I was rather convinced by the argument. Why to sign? I don't sign just every petition that comes under my nose as a knee-jerk reaction. You know, I take the time to think about each thing, whether it's a worthy cause to attach my name to or not. And some people will be upset at certain causes I've attached my name to, and I'm aware of that. But I have my own mind, and I have my own approach to a lot of things. Although many people see this as a big contrast to another cause that I took a rather different type of approach, and that's really why I want to make this video. So the petition that I had received was as follows. There's a very famous Jewish community center in Manhattan, the 92nd Street Y. This is a cultural center. It's not a religious institution. It's a Jewish cultural institution. However, as is standard, I would say, in most JCCs throughout the country, the standard, in order to be inclusive, is that official events that take place in the JCC should be kosher. And that's how it's been for decades, as far as I've heard, and as far as the author of this petition claims, and I don't see any reason to doubt it, so I didn't put in any extra research to see whether or not it's indeed true, so I could be wrong. However, I'll take their word for it personally, and I do believe it's most likely true, that the 92nd Street Y had always served only kosher food at their official functions. I mean, we're told this is Manhattan, New York City. There's probably nowhere else in the world where it's easier to obtain kosher food than in New York City. I would say in the world, even Israel, because Israel, the fruits and vegetables, you have to be worried about all the mitzvahs to Tliyas Ba'aretz. Whereas, everywhere else in the world, a lot of people worried about bugs. There are different opinions about that. It's really not for me to discuss right now, but New York City, I would say, is the easiest place in the world today to obtain kosher food. I can understand it's somewhere in Wyoming, I don't know, where it's very difficult to obtain kosher food. It's a different story. Still doesn't change the Torah, but we're not talking about a Torah institution here. We're talking about a secular institution which is affiliated with the Jewish community, and generally they wanted in the past, even if they were a minority of their members, for people who keep kosher to feel comfortable there. And also it's part of maintaining the status quo. I mean, we even see this in modern Israel, even though it's well known I'm not a big fan of Zionism. But to their credit, perhaps, I mean, there's the yes and no aspects of the questions of this credit. Official things are expected to follow certain modicums of halacha. Only serving kosher food, not doing official business on Shabbos, things like that. Even though it's a secular state, as it should be a secular state, there's certain status quo agreements that were made. And again, we can discuss and debate the merits and demerits of the status quo, developments, which I myself, I can see both the merits how it is, and that's how it's been for decades. Almost 70 years now, Now, that's which is a significant number, when we consider, excuse me, we spent 70 years in Babylon, but we're not going to talk about that now. So this year they announced, without much fanfare, and apparently the author of this petition saw to it to add fanfare to it, that this 92nd Street Y, they have their annual dinner, the gala dinner. I don't think they serve gala there, but I don't know how they pronounce it, gala or gala, I don't know. I know how the food is pronounced, but I guess it's a Latin word, I'm not sure, I don't know. And you can answer in the comments. That they decided this year that it would not be kosher. And the reason that eventually, according to this, and again, we can say perhaps it's a theory and it's not exactly accurate, but the reason that's brought by the author of this petition is that apparently they hired a spiritual leader, a Reform rabbi, and he is pushing a movement which he calls biblical kashrut. That he says basically, as long as it's not a prohibited type of animal, it's kosher. And it doesn't require kosher slaughter, even though the Bible plainly says you have to slaughter the way that I showed you, which indicates to us that there is an oral tradition of how an animal has to be slaughtered to be kosher. That's in the Bible. So to say that that's biblical kosher based only on the species and not on the manner of slaughter and removal of blood and so forth. Also, the Bible very plainly says you're not allowed to eat blood. So again, the removal of blood is central to biblical approach to kashrut. Forget about, there's nothing really rabbinical about it. You want to talk about rabbinical laws, you want to say perhaps, and even though it's a debate in the Talmud and it's not so clear, although we do paskin like this, the question of poultry and dairy, that's a rabbinical law according to how the Talmud decides in the end. Even though there is an opinion that perhaps even poultry is biblically prohibited to be mixed with dairy. But in the Psak Halacha that we follow, meaning that we don't eat poultry with dairy, but we do allow the cooking of it together and the benefit therefore from, let's say, to feed an animal or something, or to give to someone who is not part of our faith, or to deal in business with that's as far as meat and milk from domesticated mammals. That's a biblical prohibition, and poultry, it would seem perhaps as though again that's an issue of different opinions. Question of wild mammals, but we're not here to discuss the ins and outs of what's biblical and what's rabbinical in kashrus. We're here to discuss this particular current event, that an institution that for decades has only served kosher food at their annual event, and then this year they decide not, and it seems that the reason is because there's a Reform rabbi who has an agenda to wipe out not only locally but nationally, to wipe out traditional approach to keeping kosher. And then they described, you know, there was, you know, some kind of whoever was writing this petition said he has a relative who's a member of the 92nd Street Y who does keep kosher. They called and they said something about how is it that this year it's not kosher, and they said, all right, we'll get you a kosher meal. And he said, what is this? Excuse me. It's an airplane, you know, like you're getting me an airline meal. Like, what is this? Excuse me. And then they started to belittle the person for keeping kosher and started to say, oh, all these rabbis are thieves. And now you have an expensive dinner like this, which I can imagine in Manhattan, probably less than 1% of the cost, if that much, would be between kosher and not kosher. I would say it would probably be the same, because it's such a fancy event and a large event. There would actually be no, with my experience in kosher supervision and so forth, there would probably be no difference in the cost. Again, we're talking about a fancy event, and let's say, and you want the same quality food, like you have here. I don't think there would be a penny difference in the cost, really. To be totally honest, even if you have to hire mashgiach, whatever. I mean, so what do said for the older ladies they should have to walk up the stairs. He put the pizza downstairs and they could sit downstairs. And people misunderstood. They felt he's trying to make things more difficult. He's actually making things easier. Things like this. But in the community there, again, it was what sociologists will refer to as residual Orthodox. And there were people there who were observant, and there were people there who were not observant. It was both. And there were some people who maybe kept kosher but didn't keep Shabbos, and all kinds of different people there. But it was one synagogue that served the whole community, and everyone was welcome. Now, the non-observant members of the community felt they didn't want it this way anymore. Now, first of all, by doing that, they're stealing from their own parents, who founded the synagogue to be Orthodox. For whatever reason, even if they weren't personally observant, they founded it as an Orthodox synagogue. So they're basically not only spitting on their graves, but stealing from them. Meaning, if you want to make it a liberal synagogue, so you build a new building. Don't steal or buy the building from the congregation, something like that. But what they actually did was they actually stole the building from the founders who had already passed on, essentially, and even from current members who wanted to keep it Orthodox. They went out of the way to make the meeting when it was no longer when a lot of the Orthodox members were away. It was a very underhand, disgusting thing that the synagogue did. It's called Congregation Temple Bethel. But that's neither here nor there. The story I wanted to bring was that one year they were talking about making this back in the 70s, talking about making their annual dinner, and they wanted to make it in a hotel. They went to, it was an anti-Semitic neighborhood, in a hotel that was not kosher, and someone, Mrs. Weissman, she got up and she said, "I don't understand. We're not in the middle of nowhere, and this is not the Kiwanis or the Knights of Columbus or the Boy Scouts. This is a synagogue, and we're in Sullivan County, New York." This was in the 70s, when there were all of these kosher hotels, Grossinger's and Concord, which again, these weren't ultra-Orthodox places, but they were kosher, because that was the standard. That was, they wanted everyone to be welcome. And they went out of their way to go to a non-kosher hotel. So Mrs. Weissman stood up and she said, this way everyone's welcome. The people who keep kosher can feel welcome here. And to those of you who do not keep kosher, it's not going to hurt you to once eat a kosher meal. So then, that was what they said about that's what she said. And then someone else, I think maybe the vice president of the shul, got up and said, "Mrs. Weissman, it's not going to hurt you to eat a not kosher meal." Can you believe such a thing? I mean, I guess if you're not familiar with religion, maybe you don't find it shocking. I don't know, but to me, that's a pretty shocking thing to say, and disrespectful, and so whatever. So again, this is to me, it's a pretty shocking development at a place that, again, like I said, it's not a synagogue, but and they had all kinds of very, very respected speakers there from all different walks of life, Jewish and non-Jewish, but 42nd Street Y was never a reform institution. It was always a cultural institution with Jewish culture that does not affiliate with any one particular group or another. And everyone was always welcome, Jews and non-Jews, as all the businesses. You know, I was in Richmond, Virginia. That's not the most rumest place in the world, but everything that they did at the JCC had to be kosher. They had to have mashgiach. That just common sense, you know. And so what did I want to say about this? So people, like I was saying, they say, Joe, you're a hypocrite. Here you're fighting about this place that's not true, that they should keep kosher, and yet you wanted a missionary who goes talking in Orthodox shul in front of the Sifrei Torah, which again wasn't in the shul in front of the Sifrei Torah. It was in a social hall where they have all kinds of secular speakers, and he wasn't coming as a missionary. And even though he talks that he has his Catholic faith with missionary zeal, a Catholic missionary means something very different than an evangelical missionary. And I think we can, with evangelicals, we have for years in the Orthodox community. And Catholics were never a question. The Catholics never, you know, since Vatican II, I'm saying in the past 50 years, I'm not saying never, I'm not talking about 500 years ago. I'm talking about today. We always were sitting together with the Catholics because the Catholics had no agenda to convert the Jews as Jews, meaning if someone wants to convert, they're not going to say no. I mean, only Jews are that dumb to try to discourage someone from joining a religion, especially when Judaism is such a small religion, and you want to discourage someone who's, I don't mean a phony, you know, and there are a lot of phony, you know, people who convert to Christianity for phony reasons, you know. I mean, we have so much sorrow and pain in the world because Karl Marx's father wasn't inspired religiously to convert to Christianity. He did it for business reasons, and that brought the most destruction to the world. Millions of people snuffed out, much more than the Nazis killed, all thanks to Marx, and really because of Marx's father schmadding, and not out of sincerity, but out of greed and selfishness. It's disgusting. How much pain and suffering, not only the people that they murdered, the genocides that the communists made, but the horror and the slavery of over 1 billion people throughout the 20th century, and even continuing today in some of these countries. Pain and suffering is without excuse me, but that's neither here nor there. Again, but I'm not going to discuss now the question of whether or not Jews should be more welcoming of converts, but I personally believe that my experience is that any convert is better. Even most Reform and conservative converts are better than most secular Jews, or better Jews. They might not halachically be Jewish yet, maybe yes, maybe no. It depends on a lot of questions, and there's a lot of issues that are involved. It's not so simple one way or the other, especially with some of the conservative conversions. A lot of conservative rabbis are Shomer Shabbos. There might be about it is you go talk to the rabbi. This is why I feel it's not hypocritical for me to sign this petition about the 92nd Street Y serving non-kosher food. This is it. If you're upset about what's going on with Bertone, talk to Rabbi Goldberg. And he's the Mar Asra. If he'll listen to you, maybe yes, maybe no. It's his decision. But that's really the extent. You talk to the Rav, you talk to maybe the president of the shul, maybe you talk to people on the committee, but you don't have the chutzpah to go and call the speaker who was doing nothing wrong. And he openly said he's not here to do any missionary work. He's, he can put that aside, And when Catholics missionize, they're not repackaging Catholicism as Judaism. That's the main issue that we should have with these missionaries, groups like Jews for Jesus and stuff, is that they make it like a brand of Judaism, which really is the fault of these other people who rebranded Judaism themselves. But if someone is honestly saying they're selling Catholicism, they're selling Islam, they're selling Buddhism, they're selling Mormonism, and we're not selling this as Judaism. You're not following Judaism anymore once you join this group. You want to remember your Jewish culture, just like, there's the Italian culture and the Irish culture within the, many of whom are Catholics, most of whom maybe identify with the Catholic Church to some extent. And there's distinct cultures. There's a distinct Irish culture and there's a distinct Italian culture, and you want to say, there's something with the Jewish culture. There's a certain level of dishonesty there because Judaism is essentially a religion and not a race, not a culture as much, but again, there has been this development of the Jewish culture and some of it. This things. But what I'm saying is essentially a Catholic missionary, which is honest that he's selling Catholicism. He or she is selling Catholicism. He's not trying to rebrand it as something it isn't, as Messianic Judaism. It's not Judaism, it's Christianity. Some people want to argue if someone is following halacha and they, for some stupid reason, want to believe that a certain person is Mashiach who died years ago, it's a mistake, but that could still be maybe a type of Judaism, but flawed, meaning that the person could still be practicing Judaism, but they're making a mistake in believing in a false Messiah. That could be an argument one way or the other, whether or not someone is a heretic, is an idolater, which is different than a heretic, or is just a fool or making a mistake, which is not as bad and still within the community. And there have been different discussions about that throughout history, and that's just how it ended. It's not what I'm here to discuss. So if you want to call something like that Messianic Judaism, maybe there's what to talk about, but within the community that calls themselves Messianic Judaism, that's a very small minority of people who are actually Torah observant. They actually believe the halacha still applies, and yet for some reason, which is hypocritically, believe in that particular person. Or then there are other groups which are well known that believe in other various dead messiahs. One, more famous than others. There are others that are much more dangerous and damaging. One in particular from the 1600s, I think, is much more dangerous to our community than any Christian has ever been, to be honest. And really much of what society has been degraded in our current time. If you really study the sources, comes from the Sabbatean and Frankist movements. But I'm not talking about that right now. But my point is, I don't feel it's hypocritical to sign this this petition about the 92nd Street Y serving non-kosher food, and being upset about what happened in Boca Raton. For one particular reason, I don't suggest, and I would strongly oppose, if anybody would call the caterer, the non-kosher caterer, and harass them. Meaning, they don't know they're doing something wrong, and essentially they're really not doing anything wrong. It's none of their business. And that's my point, is that the same thing. If you're upset about what happened in Boca Raton, you call the rabbi, but you don't call the speaker. That's not his fault. And the same thing, if someone would go and harass the caterer, that would be crossing a line. That's basically it. And that's really the difference. Alright, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I look forward to talking to you all again. And I would like to hear comments below. I know I probably offended a lot of people one way or the other. Let's talk about it. I try to be open-minded. Again, I with this particular petition, I really didn't, I even wrote in the comments, generally I would not speak up about this, but it's clear that this is the right way to respond to something like this, and especially since it seems that it's being done in a kind of an underhanded way. It's even again, it's not my community. I don't live in Manhattan. I've never been to the 92nd Street Y, as far as I can know. Maybe I've seen some of their shows on PBS or something, but I don't see anything wrong with signing this petition, and I think it's probably the right thing to do. Would I do more than signing the petition? Probably not. But definitely think I did the right thing by signing. Alright. Again, please, and I encourage anyone who agrees with me, or who, even if they don't agree with me, but they agree that it's right to sign the petition, to also do so. It's on my Twitter and my Facebook. I don't really have to put it in the comments here. Maybe I will. I don't know.